Exactly how grievous was the sin of the gold calf idol? Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 5, a Torah portion key Tisa. Let's remain in Exodus or Shemot chapter number 32 and look at the ramifications and the fallout of this hideous act of idolatry. Moshe is up on Mount Sinai. He's receiving detailed instructions about the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, that will enable the presence of Almighty Yah to dwell in the midst of Israel. After all, he said, and they will build for me a dwelling place, and I will dwell in the midst of them. This is Yah's heart. While waiting for these instructions and waiting for the next steps, Israel, either through fear that Moshe has died or through boredom or looking for the next great thing, they determined that an idol of a calf is their best step forward. Such forward thinking is still prevalent in our day. So we read here that it says that the people, in verse 3, took off the golden earrings which are in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he, Aaron, took it from their hand and formed with it with an engraving tool and made a molded calf. It says here very plainly that Aaron molded and carved this calf. Later on, when Moshe addresses him over this issue in verse 23, he says, or verse 24 rather, whoever had gold, let them take it off, and they gave it to me, and I threw it into the fire, and this calf came out. Did he mold it, or did he throw it into the fire, and magically this calf came out? Now, there's arguments for both, believe it or not. Rabbinical scholars seek very hard to vindicate Aaron and say he had had very little to do with this and he was just buying time, etc. But it would seem to some degree that he was actually very much involved. Now, he did try to rescue the event, it would seem. The people stood up in verse number 4 and said, "This is your mighty one, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim." Aaron saw what they were saying, and he says, tomorrow is a festival to Yahweh. Regardless, with the calf involved, it is a sin of mixture. This is the same sin that takes place when Jeroboam, king of the 10 northern tribes of Israel, fashioned calf idols and called it worship to Yah. Yah was never pleased nor accepting of this form of worship. It is still an issue in our day when we take our cultural values, cultural expressions, things that are pleasing to us, things that are familiar to us, and we integrate them then into the scriptural Torah-based worship that Yah is actually desirous of. Let me just be plain spoken here. The worship that Yah has designed and he is desirous of is that is demonstrated in the tabernacle. That pattern is what is pleasing to him, and he has decreed, do not worship me the way the nations around you worship their mighty ones. We must be careful about what we call worship and what we think is well-pleasing to him. It would be very intelligent of us to actually spend time asking him, Father, show me how to worship you and what is it that you want? Just a thought. Let's continue. So Moshe is up on the mountain. Yah is stopping the instructions of the Mishkan, and he said, these people, they have polluted themselves. And listen to what Yah says is taking place. He says in verse 8, they turned quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They made themselves a molded calf and have bound themselves to it and slaughtered to it and said, this is your mighty one, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim. He says, I've seen this people and see it's a stiff-necked people. That's Yahweh's evaluation. That's the correct evaluation. He says they're guilty of idolatry. Moshe is saying, don't consume them. Let's fix this thing. So he comes down off of the mountain with the tablets in his hand that Yah has inscribed, the 10 words, and his protege, Yehoshua, says, I hear the sound of war in the camp. Moshe says, no, this is idolatry, son. And when he comes down and he sees the polluted and perverted, lewd means by which the people are seeking to worship Yahweh in their now idolatrous calf idol fashion, he takes the 2 tablets and throws them down, and they are broken. I find it interesting that on the same day that the tablets are broken, that the calf idol is broken. I haven't really figured out where that goes yet. Maybe next year we'll talk about that. But this year, let's talk about these 2 tablets of stone that are broken. Why did he think it legitimate to throw these stones down? After all, Yah has held these stones, and he's taken his finger and inscribed his own word in these stones. They are priceless. They are beyond any estimable value. And Moshe has them in his hands, and he throws them down. Now let's remember this, that up until this point, up until this stage of the story from the book of Genesis chapter 1 up to this point, we have not really read anywhere where Yah forgives sin. Matter of fact, the law of sin and death is very much in effect. The day that you sin, you die. If Moshe brings the law of Yah, the decree of Yah, the Torah of Yah inscribed in stone to this people, they're sinning, they're going to die. Not just 3,000 who actually did die, but the nation. This is the covenant of Elohim that includes the decree, in the day that you sin, you die. He breaks that covenant. And now the people are without a covenant in the wilderness, and they're going to be stuck there unless Moshe can come up with a means of approaching Yah and seeking for forgiveness, which he does. He ascends back up the mountain, and there Yah begins to decree that he is Yahweh. And he passes by Moshe, and he begins to describe the 13 attributes of mercy, among which is, I will forgive your sins. What Moshe went back up on the mountain to receive then is, in fact, the renewed covenant, erroneously called the New Testament. It's the renewed covenant based on mercy. Now, those who walk outside of his covenant are still liable to the law of sin and death. Those who reside within his covenant, it's not that we get off and nothing counts against us, but rather we should remember that we are tempered with mercy. Judgment still fell. The gold calf idol, thankfully, was destroyed, ground into powder, so that the people could never reconstitute it. Matter of fact, it sounds a little on the gross side, but it was mixed with water, and they were made to drink it. Drinking gold water that way would cause a great bowel disruption and issue. Now, if they wanted to reclaim their gold and reconstitute it into a calf, it was not a pleasant job. Let's leave it at that. Yah's house and its plans stop when we go into idolatry. We're looking for the coming of the kingdom. We're looking for the event of Yeshua reigning upon the face of this earth. We want to see his house established on Mount Zion. Therefore, we must rid ourselves of idolatry. Shabbat shalom to you and your family. May you find the Father's presence real. Thank you for watching 10-Minute Torah videos. I invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so, and also to hit the like buttons. It really helps to get our videos pushed out there where others can see them. Thank you so much for all that you do for Remnant of Israel and 10-Minute Torah. Until next week, Shalom.